there is a legitimate debate between whether Jeremy Pruitt or Kirby Smart was the best defensive coordinator during Saban's time in Tuscaloosa. I mean, that's a real debate you can sit and have with people. And the reason I believe people really like Jeremy Pruitt compared to Kirby is that he was a little bit more aggressive with his call, maybe blitzed a little bit more, not afraid to take a few more chances. As a guy who knows defensive football, and I know none of it, is that a true statement when you go back to Kirby calling defenses and watching Jeremy in his days as a defensive coordinator when he came back to Tuscaloosa? Was Jeremy more balls to the wall?
So I did not get to play under Pruitt when he was the defensive coordinator at Alabama. So I don't have the perfect.
Yeah, but you watched the game. You watched the games. Right? You watch the games.
Yeah, I did. But I do think that in general, Pruitt is a more aggressive person. Yes, I think that Pruitt takes more risks, and I think that he is calculated with those risks. I'm not saying he's reckless, but he is not scared when he sees weaknesses in the other in the opponent. He is not scared to pull the triggers, and if that means leaving your back and exposed a little more often than not, or getting unconventional and coming about it different ways, he is not at all scared to pull those triggers. I mean, he is a guy that processes offense very well in personnel and breaking down film, understands where offenses can be attacked and where they can, where you can get them. And he's very good at designing scheme around getting to those points and levers in the games. And I think that Pruitt also does a really good job of kind of just bringing his own personal twist to things. And look, Kirby's done a great job. I think he's an incredible football coach. I had no doubt in my mind he was going to do well at Georgia. I think I said it. I don't know if it was with you guys or somebody there before the national championship. You know, at some point he's going to beat Alabama, whether it be in the national championship game or next year or down the road. He's going to get over that hump and beat Alabama at some point. And lo and behold, he did in the national championship game. And what he's built in Georgia is incredible. I mean, he has really built a machine there. But I mean, even Saban said, I think when I was watching the halftime of the national championship, and they were like, "What do you think Kirby's in there saying to his team right now?" And he was like, "Well, he's in there going, guys, don't look at the scoreboard. There's no score. There's this and that." You know, he kind of rattled off for like 10 seconds. And then he goes, "Yeah, he's saying all those things that I used to say. You know, that's how I know what he's saying, right?" So I think that Kirby's done a great job of really replicating exactly what we've got at Alabama. No doubt he's added his own personal twist to it, but by and large, you know, he learned everything he's got from Saban and kind of replicated that program. I think that Pruitt brings a little bit more of a different personal flair to it, and his own flavor to the schemes and the ideas that Coach Saban already brings. I think he just complements Coach Saban really well and brings another element of ideas to Saban as well. And so those two defensive minds together, I think, are just really play well off of each other. So yeah, I would say he's a little bit more aggressive in general from my understanding of him, and like I say, just really think he's the best guy for the job for a whole bunch of reasons.
And just to go off of what you were just saying, I wanted to ask you: do you feel like, and you said on our show, it's one of our famous quotes since we started this platform, is you didn't know what Nick Saban would be telling those guys in the locker room pregame because you didn't play for this Nick Saban. He has changed a lot since your playing days. Do you think he still has the stomach for that aggressive of a defensive play caller, or is he more conservative by nature now, both offensively and defensively?
I certainly think he is. I don't think he's gotten so conservative. I don't think that's the problem, that he's too conservative. I think that he just, like I say, I think that the whole program and you know, his kind of inner circle, if you will, around him doesn't have quite the same individuals and coaches involved that I recall from when I was there. And I think that Pruitt just adds that element back that, like I said, they can kind of complement each other with the way that they can break down film and the things that they bring together. So I don't think it's necessarily that he's gotten too conservative, but he's certainly a different coach. It's a different time. And look, I mean, on that note, I mean, how old is Coach Saban? He's in his 70s, right?
71.
Is he 70?
71. Yeah, 71. Yeah.
71. 70, just turned 71. So, I mean, you know, we're sitting here making age jokes, but that's certainly not, you know, young and spry. So I think that as he continues to get into these latter stages of his career, I think it's even more and more important for the folks and the guys and the coaches and the staff and his inner circle, and that he's really relying on, that you've got to have those rock solid quality guys that can help really sustain that level and that energy that he brings and demands. And Pruitt certainly got that. I mean, you know, that guy wants to win. more than anybody. And I'm not talking about on Saturdays. I'm talking about during the week in practice. I'm talking about every rep, every weight room rep. I mean, that guy wants to win. I mean, he is a seriously fierce competitor. He hates to lose, and that's been evident to me since the day I met him. And if you don't know it, you best get out of the way if you can't keep up with it, because he's coming to win wherever he's at, whatever he's coaching. And that's infectious. I mean, he has a way of connecting with his players, and that kind of permeating to his position group and his defense. And, similar to Saban, I think that Pruitt really is kind of, this is really his calling. What I used to say years ago when I was first getting out and his name really first started to get mentioned about head coaching, I told some people, I was like, I don't really know if that's interesting to Coach Pruitt. I think that he truly thrives more in the coordinator role of being able to truly mentor young men and scheme a defense, as opposed to be a head coach, which is more being a general manager. Honestly, at the end of the day, when you're in college football head coaching, you're managing your staff, you're managing compliance, you're managing players' discipline and going to class, you're managing recruiting. You got so many different aspects of the program that you're trying to juggle. You're more of a general manager, and Pruitt really thrives at that true scheme level and being able to dive in and connect with his players and build a defense and go be successful every season. That's really what he thrives in. What I'm big on the motivational speakers. One thing I've heard many times before is find your dance floor. Kind of find where you can best express the gifts that you have and your abilities. And to me, that's Pruitt's dance floor is coaching football, coaching defensive football, specifically at Alabama. I mean, he's an Alabama guy.